Hi, thanks for stopping back at True Wellness and checking out our video blogs. Today we're going to talk about one of the primary stressors that are often overlooked in regards to our health. We often talk about heavy metal loads and environmental stressors and scars on the skin and of course mercury and amalgam fillings and all the different stressors that we're up against, food allergies of course, and one of the things that we don't really talk that much about, kind of in passing once in a while, that I really want to focus in on today is one of the big stressors that we're under is a stressor that we virtually can't see, that no one really feels, and that we're so inundated with it that we've become habituated to it. We're just used to it. And that stressor that we're talking about today is this. Everybody has one. It's cell phones. And it's not just cell phones. I'm using the cell phone to really represent all the electronic fog, all the electromagnetic fog that people deal with in their daily lives. And many different healthcare practitioners and of course biological doctors that we work with and study under have a real issue with that stress on the body. There's been a lot of research done, and I know a lot of you have heard before that cell towers affect honeybees, and honeybees can't literally live within a certain range of cell towers. It confuses their natural GPS and does other things to honeybees. And so that science has known that for a long time. Well, those electromagnetic stressors, that electromagnetic radiation, is a big stressor on the human body as well. And I know that none of us are going to give up our cell phones, and I know none of us are going to give up our computers and the ability to Google things and get off the internet forever. But what we can do is start to lessen that load on ourselves, because it is a big load. It's been shown to affect our brains. It has been shown that electromagnetic radiation at different levels, cell phone and Wi-Fi definitely, affect the brain barrier. It affects the brain-blood barrier for us, and it opens that barrier up. And when that barrier is opened up, it allows other kinds of toxins that should not enter our brain to actually get exposure to our brain. And so Wi-Fi is a big contributor to that problem. There's also a concept that the Wi-Fi and cell towers and the electromagnetic fog that we all deal with actually has very fast and high vibrations. Those radio waves aren't real slow and long and deep. They're very quick. And because of that, it actually affects our brains in the brain's ability to go into long, what are called alpha wave brain signals. And that's the time when we have nice long alpha waves where we start to fall asleep at night, where the brain gets to rest and the brain also detoxifies at night. There's a glymphatic system in the brain that has been discovered as well recently, and what that really does for us is at nighttime when we're in deep sleep, the brain actually shrinks down and we're flooded with cerebral spinal fluid, and it kind of washes the brain, and then as the morning comes, the brain expands again and kind of fills our skull once more and is actually cleansed. And this is a new discovery that has been recently found. And what they've also discovered is that if we are in an environment of heavy electromagnetic radiation and electromagnetic fog, like Wi-Fi, that Wi-Fi is in a beta wave, and it actually affects our brains to the point where it keeps our brains in a beta wave. And the problem with that is that people are tired at nighttime, and they go to lay down, and they go to fall asleep, and they find that they can't, quote-unquote, shut their brains off. Well, a good possibility is that the Wi-Fi that's flying through the house all night is actually keeping our brains from going into these nice, long alpha waves, which will allow you to fall asleep. So, one of the things that we highly recommend, and one of the things that has been recommended by our mentors, is to really get people to understand that turning off their Wi-Fi and putting their cell phone on airplane mode. Airplane mode is a great little mode, and it's simple to do. You just touch the little airplane, come on, and it goes on to airplane mode. And if we do that, it stops the cell towers from finding our phones every 5 minutes. Well, if we shut our Wi-Fi off at nighttime, right at the monitor, right at the little Wi-Fi device, just turn it off, all the lights will shut down, and then in the morning, you can just turn that right back on, and your computer and your Wi-Fi will all come back on without issue. But throughout the night, we're not being inundated with these particular vibrations that has an effect on our brains and an effect on our cells. So it's one of the stressors that I really wanted to talk about today, because I think it's one of the things that we kind of neglect, because once again, we're inundated with it. Everybody has smartphones. Almost everybody has Wi-Fi, at least in their office, if not in their home. And it's got to the point where we need to list it as another one of the big primary environmental stressors that cause illness for folks. Unfortunately, we deal with a lot of folks that come in with the symptom of dizziness. And dizziness can be manifested in many different ways for many different folks, depending on different stressors. Everything from molds to electromagnetic field problems and sensitivity to that. And when someone is dealing with dizziness, for instance, I often will ask them, please, 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 limit the amount of time that you're exposing yourself to the cell phone and the Wi-Fi. And there's two reasons for that. Yes, the Wi-Fi definitely affects the brain. The other thing that affects our brain is literally staring at little screens and typing things in and texting folks. It literally has an effect on our brains that can make you feel a little dizzy. And so with folks that are dealing with dizziness or fatigue, getting away from the Wi-Fi can be really helpful. And the most important time of the day to really do that is at nighttime, so that we get a better quality sleep. And it may take a week or two before you feel like your sleep has shifted. What I've noticed is that when we shut the Wi-Fi off at night, it changes our dog. Our dog used to be very hyperactive, and we found that when we turned the Wi-Fi off at night, the dog would calm down quite a bit and really kind of be a little different creature. So we've been doing that now in my home for quite a while, even prior to Silas being born. And we shut the Wi-Fi off at night, every night now, probably by 6 or 7 o'clock at night. We shut the Wi-Fi off, and we put our cell phones on airplane mode, and we limit the amount of electromagnetic radiation that's really affecting us when we sleep. So I highly recommend that for you. It's a simple thing to do. It's another way to really help take a burden off the body and allow the system to be free from the vibrations that are just not natural. The Earth has its own electromagnetic field, and that's designed to protect us from atmospheric issues, designed to actually protect us from radiation from outer space and from the sun. And it has a lot of other applications in relationship to the Earth and how the Earth functions. It has something to do with how animals migrate and birds fly and all of that, and get their bearings. But what's most important is that that is a natural electromagnetic field, and it can actually be beneficial to the body. There are devices that replicate that. And we utilize those devices sometimes to help people kind of reset their electromagnetic field, so they're not so disturbed by that. But all the man-made devices, including really just even electric light, everything has a electromagnetic radiation to it. Everything puts off radiation. Everything does. It's a matter of those waves, the intensity of those waves, and if we can limit our exposure to those man-made waves, it only really helps in handling our health and taking another burden off of our system, so that we can continue to take control over our health and over the environment as much as we possibly can. So I want to thank you for popping in on this one today, and for your benefit and for your children's benefit and absolutely for your pet's benefit, shut the Wi-Fi off at night. Utilize your cell phones as little as possible, and when we're not using them and when we don't need them, turn them off or put it on airplane mode, and that'll continue to make a big difference for our health. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you soon.